Welcome to the Amazon Investor Coalition podcast. Let's dive in.
In the months to come, we will discuss supporting Indigenous Amazon entrepreneurs with Marcelo Cwerner.
My name is Marcelo Cwerner. I've been living in the Amazon for the last 5 to 6 years. Before that, I lived my whole life in São Paulo, the big city, and worked for the financial markets for 12 years before coming to this place. I was already in doubt if I was spending my time to things I wanted in the financial markets, and then I came to visit just as a tourist here in Altar do Chão, which is a pristine place, really beautiful, with the Tapajós River, and fell in love with this place and decided to totally change my life. I left the financial markets. I was a director to KPMG consulting, and then I moved here and started to a business, actually 3 businesses in the last 5 years in tourism. I live in this touristic village, Altar do Chão, and then I wanted, about a year, 2 years ago, I wanted to do more to protect this place, to do something about the nature, which I love, and I really want to see here as it is for a long time. And so I decided with a group of friends to found an institute called Instituto Aquífero, which goes for aquifer, which the largest aquifer in the world is named after this village, Altar do Chão. And after we founded, we created a fire brigade. This is one chapter of my life that I became known for. We created this fire brigade to respond to forest fires that were happening here, and we started to really do good work in not only doing the combat itself, but also preventing courses and providing capacitation to people here. We started forming partnerships with the local municipality, environmental consciousness to little children. A lot of things were being done, and then we were arrested, accused of setting the very fires we were trying to extinguish. This case became nationwide and also internationally, because it also involved the name of Leonardo DiCaprio. This was kind of the funny part of this story. Our president even joked about it, and Leo DiCaprio answered, and this became a big chapter of my life. And I'm saying that because that motivated me to really pledge my entire time to helping preserve the Amazon after this event. And then I joined Nest because I wanted to join my experience as a business consultant and as an entrepreneur to start helping people here in the Amazon to develop their own ventures and businesses. And Nest seemed to come right in at the time I wanted to do this next change in my life. And so now I'm involved with Nest, and we are building a portfolio of social and environmental, we call them initiatives, not businesses, not companies, but there are cooperatives, associations, and other types of ventures that, while doing what Nest does historically, which is to provide people with income and lifting people out of poverty, with the environmental side of it, which in the Amazon is totally connected. And so that's why I'm here and why I'm with Nest.
Excellent. We'll get into the journey of Nest in a second. Just want to be clear on one thing. You're speaking to us not inside prison, right? They didn't end up putting you in prison because of the fire accusations, did they?
I did spend 3 awful nights at prison. Wow. This was in November 2019. And then we had support of over 180 institutions defending us and defending the work that we were doing. And so all the pressure really scaled up, and we were released right after 3 days being imprisoned. And they never, of course, found any proof, and we still to know exactly what were the interests behind our prison, why we were all all of this happened to us. But of course, I'm conscious that I'm very privileged to be white and from a big city and having companies and being in touch with many important people. If I were an indigenous person or otherwise, I could be there still. But fortunately enough, I was able to conduct this work and do a lot more now.
Well, we and the rest of the world are happy to have you on this side of the bars. So returning to Nest, tell us a little bit about the organization. When was it created? Who created it? Where is it that you guys work geographically?
Mm-hmm. Nest is it was founded in the 90s. It was founded by two Americans, Nicole and Steve, but they started working in Central Europe after the dissolution of the Soviet Union. They started supporting NGOs and social enterprises there in Central Europe. And then they, of course, migrated to Latin America, where we have the larger initiatives are here in Peru, where we have most of the people working for Nest. But now also in Colombia and in Brazil, we've been for the last 10 years, always doing that, always supporting social enterprises, companies that have a social impact first approach, creating jobs, creating income to marginalized populations. So that's what Nest exists for. So now we work mainly in Peru, Brazil, Poland, and Romania.
Great, and maybe now Colombia through this new
Colombia.
project. So
Exactly.
the program, I understand it's called the Amazon Indigenous Rights and Resources Project. Tell us how the program got started.
Okay, this is one of our projects in the Amazon. I can talk a little more about the other one, which we just released, an open call. But AIR, it's what it's called. It's Amazon Indigenous Resources and Rights. It started from in Peru by WWF. WWF is the main. It's the proponent of the project, and it's financed by USAID. And then we are part of the project with which comprehends more than just what we do. It comprehends also advocacy for indigenous rights and mapping and their territory and really in a way to secure more of their protagonism into local questions, into land rights and so forth. And we were included in the project to conduct the economy part of the project, where we will help do what we do, which is helping the indigenous economic initiatives to thrive, to scale, to become exporters if that happens, and really accompany them throughout 4 years of the project, where we pledge our expertise in business entrepreneurship to them.
Great. Tell us a little bit about the partner organizations, especially the indigenous organizations you're partnering with.
This is a good question, Jenna, because this whole project was conceptualized to involve the indigenous organizations. It's not something that is done only by WWF and Nest, but also in partnership with the main federations and and local indigenous organizations. In Brazil, it's COIAB, which is the organization for the Amazonian indigenous people. There's also two federations for the states of Pará and Mato Grosso. They are called FEPIPA and FEPOINT. In Peru, there are similar organizations such as IDESEP and many others in Colombia and Ecuador, which comprises the 4 countries where this project is designed. And so we partner with those indigenous organizations to draft the whole project to really take into account exactly what they see as necessary to support the indigenous groups in general. There's also, particularly in Brazil, there's also NGOs that have close contact to indigenous organizations. One is ICV, the other OPAN, and also IPAN, a very famous institute in the Brazilian Amazon, which conducts many of the projects, the educational projects, mapping and territorial projects, just as we do on the economy side.
So,
a big team.
So you guys are active in several countries. There are some Amazonian countries that I haven't heard mentioned, like Bolivia and Suriname and others. Is there scope to involve other indigenous groups outside the current scope, or are you limiting it to your current territory?
No, this project is designed to only those 4 countries I mentioned: Brazil, Peru, Colombia, and Ecuador. In Brazil, it's limited to a specific region of the Brazilian Amazon, the Tapajós Basin. So it's a 5-year project which was designed to search for the economic initiatives of those 4 countries. At Peru, we already selected 6 companies or enterprises as of now. In Brazil, we will conduct an open call to invite 4 companies to become the ones that we will monitor and support. In Colombia, an additional 4, and in Ecuador, I guess it's 2 if I remember right.
Great. Can you tell us a little bit about the companies, the types of products that you guys are hoping to help bring to market? And those that you've currently selected, and then also some of your ambitions. Maybe there's some products or produce that you want to bring to market, but you don't yet have the company producing it.
Yeah. We are not really specific on the value chain that they're involved, as long as, of course, they are into sustainable chains. We know that there are more sophisticated chains already in place, such as the acai, the Brazil nut, rubber. Those are the 3 most common ones, and the ones that are really more present in that particular area where we're targeting. But it can go as long as ecotourism, it can go to agriculture done in a sustainable way, of course. So we are hoping to choose different value chains. We don't want to focus on only one. For the 4 ones that we will select here in Brazil, we hope to have one of each of the supply chains that we know that are present there. At Peru, there's a very interesting one, which is a company that produces organic ice creams from Amazonian fruits in Peru. That was one of the selected, which is very interesting. They purchase harvested or collected fruits from the jungle, and they manufacture this sustainable ice cream or Amazonian ice cream and sell to big markets in Lima and other large cities in Peru. So it's broad.
Great. Are you guys partnered with any of the access to market groups like Origins Brazil or Tucum? And those are specific to Brazil, perhaps others in other countries?
Those Tucum, it's a company. It's a for-profit company which acquires the crafts that are made by indigenous groups throughout Brazil. This is a company that could be a company invested by Nest, for instance. They are actually accelerated by PPA, the Plataforma de Parceiros pela Amazônia, which we are part of. And they could eventually be buyers of indigenous art craft. So whenever if we happen to choose an indigenous initiative connected to this type of products, this is a company that we certainly will go after to partner up. Origins Brazil is it's a certifying program from Imaflora, and we are partners with them, not formal partners, but I have friends there. We are in constant contact with them, and we know that they are very important to certify, to do exactly that, certify companies to be able to be on the supply chain of larger companies. Here in Brazil, we invested in one pilot. We had one pilot investment through this platform I mentioned, PPA. But then this AIR project, and also an open call that we just launched, financed by CLUA, the Climate and Land Use Alliance, are the first really ventures that we are launching in the Brazilian Amazon. And then we hope to start monitoring and doing this type of support to the companies, which is helping them to become certified, helping them to reach new markets. That's what we are going to start doing, and probably by the end of this year, with the two ones that we will select through this project with CLUA, to this open call we just launched, and it's open for cooperatives and associations doing any type of sustainable business in the Amazon, and also the ones that will be selected in a year. So this is kind of a second step to our work, which is still to come.
Great. That leads into my next question. I'm wondering about corporate partners who might be able to secure long-term purchase contracts for produce coming out of the region. Such things you can build financial products on top of. Is there an active conversation with any corporate partners who might be able to secure purchase contracts?
Yes, since the even in what supply chain those companies that we will select, we will still to know what they are doing. We're still to go after which are those large companies to secure contracts and to become purchase of those products. But we do have a network of corporates that we can reach, and we are already in contact to when we select. This pilot investment that we done, we did this intermediation between them and a large company, shoe company here in Brazil, Alpargatas, you probably know about, to acquire the products of this company that we invested. So this is one of the pillars of support that we provide throughout the years that we monitor and accompany the business, is to procure contracts to them and really expand their sales. So if we choose a company for cacao, for sure we will, for instance, go after large companies that could be acquirers of this type of product. So this is a very important part. We've been, in that sense, involved with, partnered with Fundação Certi, which is doing a large survey. They have just released the confidential first look at the results of the survey, which sent forms to 50 or 80, I can't remember, companies in Brazil, testing their willingness to acquire products from the Amazon. And so we totally believe that this is a very important side of the support that we will create. It's to open access to those companies here in the Amazon to become providers and suppliers to larger companies throughout the country and abroad too.
I have a more philosophically complicated question for you next. And that is, do you guys struggle to reconcile the for-profit extractive nature of capitalism with the nature first priorities of most indigenous communities? Does that ever come up?
It does come up, and it's a hard one. Of course, we're still really trying to formulate an answer to that, but there's no simple one. There are groups. I think the key to that is to listen to what the indigenous people want. They are, of course, nature first priority, but they do want to participate into the capitalist economy. So we believe that you don't have to choose each one of those. You can be a profit seeker while prioritizing nature and actually sometimes be paid for protecting nature. So I think I've heard in the past from groups of people here, not indigenous one, but riverine traditional population here in the Amazon, that they wouldn't want, for instance, to have a contract with a large company because they simply don't want to have a target demand that they have to meet. They just want to produce what they can produce, and that's it, and have a decent life. So they don't want to scale, for instance. And so this is something that we need to be open to incorporate different views of what a business is, a business for them. And maybe it's not something that needs to grow, it needs to only provide a certain amount of income to them. But I think there can be a combination of the two, a combination between capitalism, which is changing itself, I believe, too, while maintaining this principle, which goes by then, which is to defend nature at all costs. So I think those type of businesses that we hope to support, they do exactly that. They take advantage of the forest as it is, as the forest is, as what the forest can provide, and make that a profitable business, something that generates possibilities to the people that are involved with that. So we hope to support exactly that. People that want to create business and scale business while keeping the forest standing.
I want to let the whole group know that in a couple of minutes, I'm going to finish my line of questions and we're going to open it up to everybody else. So just a couple more questions. So as we build out the Amazon Investor Coalition and engage in this march to advance forest-friendly economic development across the region, we run into this problem of the rule of law. You can't have healthy economic development without a healthy rule of law. I'm wondering what legal obstacles, if any, you guys have faced. Is land rights an issue? What are some of the issues you guys have faced on the question of governance, opening up a business, operating, dealing with the rule of law?
And that's also a great question. In Brazil, we have a saying that it goes, you have to work against the government. The government's not here to help in any way. You have to develop despite the government and the laws. because they really don't help at all, and there's many obstacles to people that want to commercialize products from the forest. Cutting is not really a big problem. Deforestation doesn't bring about punishment, but really selling a nature product can get you in trouble, because the process to legalize a substance, for instance, is excruciating in Brazil. So there's many obstacles, and all that people here in the Amazon do, it's despite those obstacles. I cannot mention previous obstacles that we faced, because as I mentioned, we are starting to work here. I can tell you from an entrepreneur perspective, which I've been for the last 5 years here in the Amazon, and it's really kind of a independent venture that you have to do in terms of civil society, because land rights, as you mentioned, is a big problem. Financing, bank financing to this type of businesses is very limited, because they don't have ownership of the land, so they cannot give that as a guarantee as banks are used to. So there are many issues. Where you look, you find obstacles and hardships, logistics, connectivity, but then again, land rights, it's a big issue here, and we don't see overcoming that, in at least in the next few years, with current government. So you kind of have to do it despite that. You have to find a way, and a big part of our help is also that. It's also navigating to this bureaucracy and navigating through those laws and helping them. Even to smaller business, I've been helping on my own before Nest. It's really hard to open an bank account, for instance, and so even small steps sometimes present difficulties to people here trying to do business.
So I have last question, which is going to be a 2-in-1, and then we'll open up the floor. Or as they say on radio programs, we'll open up the lines. Are you guys working to design any financial products that could extend credit to Indigenous communities? And then after that is, how can people on this call help?
Great. I think I've been involved in some groups to discuss this structure of financing, with incorporating blended capital financing and innovative structures, such as loan funds for patient capital and so forth. But we as Nest, that's not really our main goal. We can provide our contribution to what can work and how the companies, which types they are prepared to absorb, and what would be ideal for them. But it's a little bit outside of our expertise, which is like really incubating companies and providing them with patient capital and donations. And I think this group of people in this coalition, Amazon Investor Coalition, I think there's a lot of there is a fair amount of capital to NGOs and institutions like Nest, but sometimes I faced some difficulties to people that want to start. I mean, mainly the institutions that are provided with capital are mainly the top 10 that have an abundance of financing provided to them, and I think when it comes to investing in the Amazon, you really have to rethink what you know about risks and what you expect in terms of return. really specific frameworks need to be considered to invest here. But it's a discussion that it's very useful to be done with all stakeholders involved, and especially the people here, the people that are conducting the business. If they want outside investors, if they want to move from historically what has been working here, which is donations, which is the support of large NGOs. So I think this is under construction, and there's a long way to go still.
Okay, does anybody have questions for Marcelo?
I'll ask one. Hey, Marcelo, do you mind talking a little bit about your team?
Not at all, Daniel. Thank you for asking that. In Brazil, we have only two people, Renata Truzzi, the director for Brazil, and myself. Eventually, we will hire consultants to do specific work. In Peru, we have, I think, 6 people in Peru working with a portfolio of about 12 companies. And also the AIR project, the Indigenous project, which is Peru, it's kind of the home of the project. We have another 3 or 4 in Europe, and some scattered in the US, in Miami, in New Jersey, and California. So we're about 30 people at Nest. Historically, we've been this type of company that it's now more and more viable, which is spread all over the places, and sometimes working by themselves in a location, having no offices, and we conduct that this way.
Just to follow up, are any of the staff that you have ecologists or familiar with conservation, or they're more on the business side?
More on the business side. This is something we want to invest in. This project I mentioned with Klua, we have a line of budget to hire consultants that are specialists in conservation, that could educate us in how to measure the environmental impact, what to consider in terms of conservationists. So we plan to learn more about that, and we plan to also enhance our team in the future with specialists in that area, Daniel.
Go ahead, Lars. Or Daniel, did you have any more questions? Okay, go ahead, Lars.
Hello, I'm Lars from Rainforest Foundation Norway. I understand that your startup is relatively recent in Brazil, and that sort of the accumulated experience in Peru is sort of stronger. Could you give an example of somewhat successful initiative? I mean, what types of products or what experience have you had in Peru? So that's my first question. And the second question is, I saw on your website, at least for the call for proposal, you focus on indigenous organizations, associations, sort of collective unities, which I like. But in terms of business challenge, it's easier to work with more entrepreneurial individuals than sort of traditional communities. So could you say something about the that focus? Is it exclusive, or what's your thinking about that?
Thank you, Lars. I like that question, the second one, very much. I will get to that. We've been in Brazil. Nest has been in Brazil for quite some time, but investing in those companies in urban areas and providing employment. So what is new here in Brazil? It's all that I'm talking about, the Amazon. At Peru, we have already, if I'm not mistaken, currently we have three companies in the Amazon working with the Amazon, and exactly like you mentioned, individual entrepreneurs. One, it's a company that acquire moss from indigenous communities that harvest, women especially, that harvest moss and sell to this company, and then this company industrializes and sells it back. There's another one which is called Café Compadre. The first one is called Inca Moss, if you want to research about it. The second one, it's Café Compadre, which is a company that purchase coffee from also indigenous groups and traditional communities in Peru. They acquired the coffee, and something that they did, which is remarkable, is that they provided them with a innovative solar toaster. I'm not sure if that's the correct way to say, but they really toast the coffee through solar energy, and they started paying 3 times as much as those populations used to receive, and we support that company, Café Compadre. And in another one, it's Amazonian Foods. They do the same thing. They purchase from communities fruits and vegetables from the Amazon, and they dry, they package, they sell to big markets. So this is definitely a more risk-free, or not risk-free, but easier way to support a company that itself, it's a purchase of, like Tucum that was mentioned. The Tucum, it's a group of people in Rio de Janeiro that like indigenous projects, and they created this company acquiring the products from the indigenous. We could go this way. PPA, the partnership, which comprises a lot of companies, they do mainly that. They have supported a company called Manioca, for instance, that really export products from the forest. There's another one called 100% Amazonia. And there's a list, not very extensive list, of those companies that are created by individuals that through this business provide income and environmental protection through their work. We could invest in those, but those are on the spot right now in Brazil. So they've been approached by many investors. There's Climate Ventures. There's many companies and funds that are willing to support those. And I really and I liked answering that, because in this open call, I made sure to really want to give a priority to cooperatives and associations that are owned and conducted by exactly the people that are here in the Amazon. Those families that are doing this for generations, and they don't have access to markets. They don't have expertise in running a business. They don't know what a cash flow is. And I really want to support those more, even though the results come in a longer term. You have to be more present, and they even have literacy issues and connectivity issues. But I prefer to deploy my energy and our resources into those that need more than the others.
Great. Lars, did you have a follow-up, or was that good? Okay. Fiona.
Hello, everybody. I'm just following through. I want to thank you all for what you do for this planet and for the Amazon, and for Jonah for keeping this activism going and bringing vital energy towards these projects. So FAS Amazonas is a group that I wanted to double check that you're aligned with, or can I help to coordinate this alliance? You know, one of the areas after doing a lot of due diligence for me was that their work in protected areas, their green and inclusive economy center of the Amazon, of how they actually have an education center where they're working with the forces around driving the actions to educate the Indigenous communities, listen to the Indigenous communities, and build upon the needs of the Indigenous communities so that the projects can really be connected and driven by their needs and wants as well as their voices. And then the area that's vital is the water replacement area. And then their education area for me on environmental services. And so the environmental services side on the law. So tell me, how can we connect you, or are there projects that we could combine together to work with Vas Amazonas and some of their scientists and researchers? Thank you.
Thank you, Fiona, for this commentary and this offer. I really appreciate. We are very well connected to FAS. Renata has close relationship. I kind of miss the name right now, but they even will help. They mentioned 4 to 5 initiatives to subscribe to our project. So they're colleagues, they're people that we are in contact with, and more we are making ourselves available to integrate what they do to our expertise in supporting the business. And this is a first one, which is them helping or them exposing the cooperative that they've been working with to our program, which is really great, because we as newcomers to the Amazon, we need that ground that they already cover. And this is the same for Imaflora, for ISA, Instituto Socioambiental. Forest Trends is another partner that is present in northwest of Mato Grosso and Rondônia. So we've been in close contact with many of those actors here in the Amazon to collaborate, to join what we do best to what they've been doing, and trying to do exactly what you said, try to attend the needs of these people.
Excellent. Thank you very much. And what can we do to help you then?
Well, I'm still to know each one of you. Danielle presented himself, and some of you have, but I think, well, I think, of course, for instance, this project with Klua, it's a pilot too for Klua. They, since we don't have much presence, I believe they hired us on an initial stage. So this mentorship and capacity building that we will provide to those 2 that we will select, as of now, has only 2 years, I mean 1 year of budget already compromised. And we know that 1 year is nothing. 1 year you will not be able to achieve. If you tell those people that you want to achieve whatever it is in 1 year, you're not gonna even start doing anything with them, because 1 year is nothing. It's only 1 season. So we need to enlarge this project. We need to be there with them for more time, and for that we need resources. So we have already 4 companies that we think are eligible to our program. We expect 4 more from FAS. We expect at least another 4 that we mapped and wanted them to participate and made our way to get the information to them. So we think we're gonna end up in this call with a list of maybe 10 potential initiatives that we want to support, but we only have budget for 2 and only a year. So we will start as soon as we get the result of this open call, and we do have these names, we'll be showing them to potential investors and say, well, those guys, they want support. That's what you will use money for. That's how they will aggregate value. That's how they will expand their social and environmental work. and we need collaboration from foundations and investors. So this is gonna come up pretty soon, and I hope I can be able to talk about this with some of you in the future, maybe.
Thank you. Katie, you're up next.
Hi, thank you, Marcelo, for being here. And it's been interesting listening to you speak and be interviewed through this. I'm Katie Pickett from Cadasta Foundation out of Washington, D.C. Many of you all know Amy, our CEO. My question is, as you stated earlier, land rights and the rule of law is a big problem that you all do not see overcoming within the current Brazilian administration, but that you must map land and resource rights despite the realities of this context. In Brazil and in the other 3 program countries, what are your programmatic needs surrounding land and resource rights mapping, perhaps low-cost technologies uptake in your ongoing implementation, and current and/or future calls? And then to follow that up, where do you see the pain points for achieving land and resource rights metric goals, and how can we help with that?
Nest, it's not the project has that part. I mean, WWF alongside with many other actors such as IPAN, OPAN, they're developing exactly that. They are IPAN even developed a cell phone application where they can report on any threats that they have, on how to connect to public authorities. So this is a big part of the program, which is not where Nest acts. So I wouldn't be able to really go deep into that matter, into this question with you, Katie. But I think nowadays the strategy is really to reduce damage rather than improving anything. Even so that now a priority for this government is to allow mining in indigenous reserves. They want to liberate that. They want to make it available to mining companies. So nowadays the project and listens very much of what are the big problems that the indigenous communities have, and try to address that in terms of land rights and territorial management. So I think I wouldn't know exactly how to help them at this stage, because even so, this program is very delayed due to the pandemic, due to COVID. We have not been able to be in presence with the indigenous groups, and that limits a lot the project. Indigenous communities, they to create trust, you need to be there to create trust to them. And so I wouldn't know exactly how to answer, Katie, how to help, but at this point, the project is even a little bit jammed because of the pandemic. We hope they're being vaccinated now, and we hope that to pick up the pace. And I'll make sure to talk about with my colleagues at WWF and check what can be done in this sense in the upcoming months.
Katie, do you want to give us a sentence about what the Cadasta Foundation is?
Yeah, so the Cadasta Foundation is, we provide low cost and/or free technologies for indigenous peoples around the world and communities and individuals as well around the world, to capture their land and resource rights for advocacy and/or documentation for registration purposes.
I have another question. We still have 7 minutes left. Great. Oh, so I'll ask, and then Amalia, and that may be our last question. So there are certain groups of indigenous people that are not included in the global economic cycle. I'm thinking about the 60 tribes where there is a legal order not to contact them, right? If you contact them, they get the pathogens that humans carry and then may kill off their entire tribe. I'm wondering if a non-Indigenous business whose profit goes to protecting those communities, by creating a security wall around their land or something like that. I'm wondering if Indigenous protection entrepreneurship I'm wondering if in Indigenous protection entrepreneurship that protects Indigenous communities, but that is not led by Indigenous communities, could qualify.
I think maybe yes. We would have to look about that. I haven't heard of a business like that ever. But those indigenous community, a business that protects non-contacted indigenous people, is there a business like that, Jonah?
I don't know. I'm just imagining.
Yeah, I think. I mean, again, any business on the AIR project, no, because it has to be indigenous led. It's a business conducted by them, created by them. It's their work, harvesting, collecting, or creating sustainable fishery or whatever it is. The AIR project is focused only on indigenous enterprise, indigenous business, created by them and conducted by them. On the other one, with Klua, we are very open to any type of business that we can access, that they are sustainable, they provide income to people, they generate sustainable income, and they also, by doing so, they protect the environment and keep the forest standing. So anyone would qualify if they do that. If there's and of course it needs to be a line of service or a line of products that it's financial sustainable as well. Maybe it's not yet, but it has the potential to become. So we wouldn't pick, for instance, there is many that subscribe to our open call, that it's like advocacy hub, or a place where we battle for the rights of teachers, for instance. So this is not a product, this is not a business. So we are not the type of institution that will donate to you and simply donate, because you will always be requiring a donation. You don't have where to create value in terms of economic speaking. So those wouldn't qualify, but the other ones that generate income and conduct sustainable business in the Amazon, they would qualify.
Matt Foster.
Yeah, thanks, Marcelo. It's great to hear what Nest is doing and hear about your experiences. And I did post the question to the chat as well, but I'll ask it here. And that's just, it's great to hear so many of the same partners and everything that Nest is working with. We've been also lucky enough to partner with at Global Wildlife Conservation, where I am, and Chris, who's on the call as well, and through the Amazon Forest Fund in particular. And just wondering, in addition, if you've partnered in the Tapajós with Projeto Sal de Alegria. A specific question, and then just look forward to speaking with you and your organization further moving forward as we think about further support for our network of partners in Brazil and the wider Amazon. And in particular, also was interested to see OPIAC on your webpage as far as some of your work in Colombia. So thanks very much.
Thank you, Matt. Yeah, OPIAC, it's one of those indigenous partners in the AIR project. So all that we do, and that goes for WWF as well, we consult and we select the business with OPIAC in Colombia. They're really a big part of the project. As to Projeto Sal de Alegria, we don't have a partnership with them. I'm friends with Caetano and Eugenio, the two founders of Projeto Sal de Alegria. I'm exactly where they live. This weekend I met them, for instance, and so we have a informal friendship partnership. So Caetano, who's a person who has contact with everybody in the Amazon and in Brazil, connected to the Amazon. He helped disseminate our open call, for instance. And we are very close, actually, also because they were also targeted in that police case. So we spent some rough time together and really being kind of crazy together for a few months and trying to defend ourselves together. So he's a brother. But we're still to find connections where we can work together formally. I know he's been doing more and more. He's been involved with the bioeconomy and sustainable development. And we are newcomers. So I'm less than 6 months with Nest. And so I do believe we will find something that we can work together. If it's to go through first, another one of the subscribers of this, the companies that have one of the 4, it's a local cooperative that has been supported by Projeto Saúde e Alegria very much. So there's a lot of interconnections, but still to now, and that's recent, no formal partnerships yet.
Great, thank you, Marcelo.
Thank you, Matt. Thank you, Marcelo. Thank you, everybody, for joining the call.
Thanks for watching. For more investment insights, subscribe and visit AmazonInvestor.org. Stay savvy, stay connected.